Next up, we're going to be talking about rational numbers. Please make sure that you have your notes with me and follow along as we go. So a rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. Rational number. Okay, so rational numbers can include all fractions, obviously, right? We can write a fraction as a fraction. Any mixed numbers, okay, so a mixed number is whenever you have a whole number and a fraction together. Any integers, that's what we just finished talking about. Those are like the positive and negative whole numbers. And then most of our decimal numbers are going to be considered rational numbers. There's just a few decimals that are not rational, and we'll talk about those later. Okay, so rational numbers is a huge set of numbers. Anything that can be written as a fraction is a rational number. Okay, all of these rational numbers actually have their place on the number line. Okay, so we're going to practice locating some of these numbers, like fractions and decimals, on the number line here today. Okay, I'm going to start right here. We want to graph 1.5 on this number line. So if you look here, my number line starts at -3 and it stretches over here to +3. So the number 1.5 is going to fall between 1 and 2, and it would actually be halfway between there. So I'm going to make a mark on my number line, and then I'm going to label that 1.5. The opposite of 1.5 would be -1.5. So that's going to fall halfway between -1 and -2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that as well and label it. Okay, let's take a look at these other 4 points listed here. So first off, point A is at -1 and 8/10. So I'm going to think +1 and 8/10 is going to fall between +1 and +2, but closer to 2. So that means the opposite of that, or -1 and 8/10, is going to fall between -1 and -2, but closer to -2, almost to -2. Okay, I'm going to label that point A. Okay, point B is at 1.6, or 1 and 6/10. So that's going to fall between 1 and 2. 1 and 6/10 is just a little bit more than 1.5. So I'm going to make my mark here just a little ways past 1.5, a little to the right of that, and I'm going to label it point B. Okay, moving on, point C is at 2 and 1/4. So 2 and 1/4, that's going to go between 2 and 3. I'm going to mark where the halfway point is because that just helps me to gauge where I'm at. 2 and 1/4 is going to be less than 2.5. So a little more than 2, but less than 2.5. So I'm going to make that right here and call that C. Now we could also, let's just think about the opposite of that for a minute. If I wanted -2 and 1/4, then it's going to be between -2 and -3. Okay, here's -2.5. So -2 and 1/4 is going to be closer to -2. You can just go ahead and label that one as well. Okay, and then our last one here, letter D, is at -4/3. So this is an improper fraction. We want to first change that to a mixed number. So that would be -1 and 1/3. Okay, that number, again, I'm going to think of it as if it were positive first because that helps me place it on the number line. So +1 and 1/3 is going to fall between 1 and 2, a little bit closer to 1. So -1 and 1/3 is going to fall between -1 and -2, but a little bit closer to -1. So point D is going to be over here. All right, guys, I want you to go down to the bottom of your page, and there's some more rational numbers there. Pause the video, locate them on the number line, and then you can hit play to check your answers. Okay, flip your paper over to the back side. You have a few more to practice, and then you can have the teacher's signature when you're finished. Good luck.